Hi everyone, it's day 52 of my vlog a day challenge for Cure Leukaemia. On today's vlog I'm going to be bringing you the second part of Sam's very inspirational story. So she was admitted to hospital on the 25th of April 2016 with the intention of starting chemotherapy, but because of the blood clot in her arm and the effects of it, they had to postpone it for a day. She had to have the PICC line in her arm removed and replaced with a Grosong line in her upper arm, which was a very difficult procedure and took over an hour. Sam was already in so much pain with the blood clot. Now afterwards all she wanted to do was sleep, but she had to have further scans to ensure that she was fit enough for the chemotherapy. During the course of the day, her blood pressure started to drop and she felt dreadful. And after an awful night's sleep, she was woken on the 26th of April and told that she was being prepared for the chemo. The trials nurse came in and took 24 vials of blood, which is a lot, and she was then moved to an isolation room and began the first cycle. Now she had an allergic reaction to one of the chemos and had to have steroids and antihistamine, and after 5 days she finished the course, but by this point was feeling the effects, which were dreadful. Sam's listed the symptoms here: constipation, diarrhoea, sickness, fatigue, loss of taste buds and subsequently appetite as well, headaches and quite a lot of pain. Now Sam's sister drove from Nottingham on her 40th birthday to give a blood sample to see if she was compatible. Now Sam's sister is severely needle phobic, so it was a huge deal for her. And Sam's daughter managed Sam's visitor list because she slept quite a lot within those first few weeks. And then Sam's brother came to give his sample, and it was the first time that they'd had a proper conversation after an 8-year estrangement. So yeah, a huge deal it must have been. Sam then had an anaphylactic reaction to platelets, and the Hickman line came unstitched and bled for hours and hours. And she had the most painful migraine she'd ever had in her life, an allergic reaction to some of the antibiotics, and she lost so much muscle tone that walking a few metres was a challenge. Now again, Sam's listed this, sent it as a long statement, and the next bit what Sam's put is, she stupidly decided to shave her legs, resulting in cutting herself and bleeding for 3 days, so it's not good. And she was told off by everyone who came into her room, and she was called a troublemaker because she constantly challenged and asked questions and just did her own thing, which, given the situation, I think if I was in that situation I'd probably do the same, Sam, so yeah. But yeah, she remained positive throughout the whole of her first chemo, despite the challenges, and she smiled every day and constantly joked around with the medical team, and she wouldn't allow any negativity in her room whatsoever. And the nurses used to actually say that her room was calm and positive, and that's something that'll always stay with Sam, she says. And the only real negative thing that happened was that she lost her granddad while she was in hospital, which, you know, I'm really sorry to hear that, Sam, because that must have been a really awful... I've lost my granddad and it was awful, but obviously given the situation you were going through as well, it must have been dreadful. But yeah, it was obviously hugely upsetting, but the staff dealt with it so well, and she'll always be so grateful to them for that. And then she had her hair cut into a pixie crop because her hair was starting to come out. Now, Sam sent me a photo of this a couple of days ago and it looked absolutely lovely in that style, it really did. And she was also fitted for a wig, which was great fun. And then she started talking a whole nother language involving blood levels, names of medication, what procedures were called and why she was having them, and she became obsessed with neutrophils. Eventually, after a month, she was deemed fit enough to have ward leave and she was really excited. She even painted her nails to celebrate, which apparently became a bit of a tradition, Sam says. Then she had 10 days at home but had to go back to the unit every other day to see the district nurse. And she also used the week to catch up with everyone, which felt amazing. She ate so much to try and put on weight for chemo number 2 and to get her strength back up. Now Sam actually used to work in a pub prior to her diagnosis, so in that 10-day period she went in there a few times to catch up with everyone. And the doctors were a little bit cross, but by now apparently they knew that she was just going to do her own thing, so you know, hats off to you, Sam. But by the time she went back into hospital on June the 4th, she'd heard that she was in remission, which is obviously amazing news, and she felt so positive for a second lot of chemo. But then she's put, she had no idea that she was about to face one of the toughest challenges I've ever encountered. So that was part 2 of Sam's very, very inspirational story, and I hope that over the course of the week, when you realise what Sam's gone through and where she is now, I hope that it inspires other people out there that's going through it, that, you know, Sam got through it and so can you. So yeah, tune in for tomorrow's vlog, which is the next part of Sam's very inspirational story. And thank you so much again to everyone that's been tuning in. Lots of love.